magical thoughts. All things are real unless you dream they're not. In your dreams, love is the plot, carried on wings of hope.
Hello, good people, and welcome to Off the Deep End, a Deep Listens podcast where we cover role-playing video games in depth. And it's time. It's time. It's finally time. The sun is up and the sky is blue. We've got Kusolstice for me and you. That's right, it's summer Kusolstice. Joining me to mark the changing of the seasons and the rise of the fiery orb is Chris, Zombie Pie Redacted, the Lunar Silver Story complete of this podcast.
Oh, see, I was thinking there were two ways he could go about it. He could think about different releases of Lunar R1, or he could name us after other mid-tier, almost there, sometimes also ran JRPG franchises.
In that case, I'm the
basically dead.
Alundra of the podcast. Anyway, also joining us is not Adam Borgmaster Redacted, who is weak and soft and busy. Instead, we have the Mistress of Games, the Taker of Names, and the
Sega CD port.
Sega CD,
No, wait, that's the original version.
No, the Lunar Legend of this podcast. That's the GBA version. Emerin Palladino.
Hello. How dare you bring me onto this pale imitation of a main show podcast?
I
guess
we're
I
not
can put up
covering
with it.
Dragon Age.
I was thinking of picking the new Dragon Age at some point, but I don't want to
play that.
do that. I don't want to do that with Gino. Maybe with you guys. I don't know.
I hear it's long, but
game.
yeah, it seems totally fine. Hey,
it's all right. We sure played this game, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, howdy.
Right.
We played Lunar Dragon Song for the Nintendo DS, a game we have literally been threatening since the beginning of this podcast. Now, thanks to you at home, the patrons, we finally played it. I did not much care for it.
No.
And our next at 60 patrons with Oji-san cast patrons counting for 2, we have Raven's Cry from your friends and mine at Reality Pump, the makers of Two Worlds and Two Worlds 2. Comes a game that has been sold to me as watching a game fall apart in front of you and seeing the code immediately behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm very enthusiastic to play that.
Cool.
Anywhere between 1 to 6 months, depending on how quickly you monsters give us money.
Fuck you, pay me.
Fuck you, pay me.
Please give us money. We do this for so many hours.
I forget, has the main podcast picked?
We
their
have
next
some ideas, but we
pick?
haven't locked anything in yet.
Okay.
It's gonna be a doozy, whatever it is. I was thinking maybe we play a good game, but I doubt that will happen.
Good games are good. You should play good games. You played that there game I was yelling at you specifically to play, and you seemed to like it.
Pretty good. Yeah, even though I got the absolute worst ending, I think.
Yeah. I see. I picked the I can fix her ending.
Mm-hmm. I got locked into a really bad ending.
Yeah.
If you want to hear about that, you should listen to our Sorry We're Closed episode.
Listen to their Sorry We're Closed episode. Because I liked that game. And
But we got locked into a different bad ending.
That's right. We played Lunar Dragon Song. Lunar Dragon Song was developed by your friends and mine at Game Arts. Game Arts made 2 franchises, Grandia and Lunar.
Those are both pretty good.
Both of which are generally regarded as being
people
pretty good franchises.
Games, both Lunar and Grandia. Lunar Dragon Song, or as it was known in Japan and Europe, Lunar Genesis, which is a more faithful title, came out in August 25th, 2005 in Japan, September 27th, 2005 in the United States, and February 17th, 2006 in Europe. It is the quote-unquote 3rd or 4th game in the Lunar series, depending on whether or not you want to count Lunar Magic School for the Game Gear and the Saturn, but those have never gotten official translations. It is notable for being basically the first RPG on the DS. And I checked, and Naruto RPG 2 is technically before this.
Let's just
but that only came out in Japan.
Yeah, let's just say this is something that we don't need to super dwell on. I would say that overall, eventually the Nintendo DS got there, especially with the DSi, maybe even as early as the DS Lite. The Fat DS and the first year on that Fat DS, pretty rough.
I feel like
pretty rough in terms of like the software and the screens and like the developers that were willing to experiment on the DS, especially the the dual screen stuff.
I feel like the first so DS came out in late 2004. 2005, it took a hot minute for I feel like Advance Wars Dual Strike and Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow are kind of the 2 meaningful games from 05 on the DS. There are a couple more, but the first year of the DS was pretty light, and a lot of that has to do with game developers still making stuff for the GBA, because who would make something for this silly double-screened handheld that has a touch screen?
That's weird.
But thankfully, your friends and mine at Game Arts, or, at this point, let's say, what was left of Game Arts?
Okay, so looking at it, yes, it does seem like Game Arts took a beating, and the developer for this was Japan Art Media, which was some sort of offshoot of them. But there are members of the Lunar team that stuck around to make this, and Game Arts had some role connected to this.
I guess Grandia 3 and Grandia Extreme were still coming. Yeah, Grandia 3 was 05. So this would have been around the same time as Grandia 3. So one imagines that perhaps that was the main focus for them.
But the developer on point for Lunar Dragon Song was Japan Art Media, and they had actually always been, their speciality was always kind of making like portable games, because their point of origin is actually on the original Game Boy, making Aretha. And they kept making more Aretha games before, they had to make the switch to the Super Nintendo. And then from the Super Nintendo, they went into the Game Boy Advance. And they are the team that made Lunar Legend for the Game Boy Advance. So they have some history with Lunar, and especially doing port work. This is going to be kind of like their last big project because shortly after Lunar Dragon Song, they basically became who are the fucking people who had Double Fine for a bit and they
Marvelous.
had Cooking Mama? What were they called? Not Marvelous, but sure.
Majesco.
They became the Majesco, right? So they became Majesco's point person for making localizations for their games on DS. And so their last game after doing Cookie Mama DS was in 2010 Crafting Mama,
Yeah.
and then they went bankrupt or just ceased to exist.
Yeah.
But this also didn't kill their working relationship with Game Arts because Game Arts then hires them again to do the work for Lunar Silver Star Harmony for the PSP
people
and
like
the
those
PS Vita.
ports.
So it's weird to think, but as bad as this was, both Game Arts and Japan Art Media, they make good games, and so I'm thinking of that quote that Jeff said in reference to Toze, which is the quality of the game that comes from this studio is a 1-to-1 ratio with however many yen you give them. And I think it's safe to say, I've been talking to this with M a lot. They didn't spend a lot of money on this game.
They didn't.
They really didn't. No. Because what do we think about when we think about like what makes the Lunar franchise special? It's those anime cutscenes, right, Braden? Anime
CD-ROM
cutscenes,
quality audio.
Iconic, I would say. Yes, CD-ROM quality audio, goofy but era appropriate voice acting,
Working
especially if we're
designs.
talking about like the working designs localization for the PlayStation 1 version. And none
Ubisoft
of that's
brought this over in the States. Bafflingly.
But even then, like, there's nothing here that's like, there's no CD-ROM full motion cutscenes. Every cutscene is told using stilted visual novel-esque character portraits. There's no voice acting at all. And the music is dog shit.
If you need a tip to make this game a little bit more bearable, don't ever turn the audio on. Just leave that shit muted. It's fine.
I was shocked at how little music there is and how well, okay. It repeats like 10 tracks. Cuz there's one battle theme. And that, look, classic RPGs tended to only have one battle theme, but no, you guys, you don't understand. You don't understand what Em and I had to do.
You will listen to that
go through
over 1,000 times throughout this game.
It's even more insulting, M, when you get to the bosses that use the default battle theme rather than a unique boss theme, and it's like,
especially
the
last couple of bosses, you would think they would have like one track that they could sub in, but no.
And then on top of that, it doesn't help that the game also repeats locations, so you hear the location specific music a lot, and it's so year one, maybe it wasn't perfect, but I would say this, for what it was, the DS had a pretty decent sound card, because there was some good music that came out of DS games. especially like that Mario Kart game and some of those Mario games. Like there was good
Yeah,
music that
and
was on
also
the
eventually
DS.
the DS would have
So
some tremendous RPGs on it. A lot of shovelware trash and infamous disappointments. Your Golden Sun Dark Dawns and whatnot.
Don't speak its name.
but this game feels off, I would say, pretty quickly.
Uh-huh.
Like something is wrong when you start to boot it up and play it. It starts with a pretty long, stilted still image cutscene introducing the world of like, oh, this is set like thousands of years before the events of what Althena is alive and goddess, blah, 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 blah. And it's just the most vapid and empty, like, exposition ever. I don't know. You've never played a Lunar game. Did anything that the game presented at that start, like, stick with you?
This
I
is
don't think
that
so, right?
like world building segment in the beginning where they're like, there's a goddess and there's
Yeah,
dragons
there's
and
dragons and shit.
there's a dragon master, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the problem is that it has that kind of like introduction, which seems like at least a foundation, and then they don't build anything because we're just dropped in media res with our character in bed, waking up. Classic
You're late.
JRPG
There's
framing
your
device, right?
childhood friend is like, you're late for your courier job. There's the main character whose name is Gian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is when things
Uh-huh.
start
Okay.
to add up.
We don't need to do a point by point summary of this game's plot because it doesn't have
No,
one.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying it doesn't have one. I'm just saying, like, okay, fine, we're doing a fetch quest to start things off, but then once you get your second character, which is
What's her name?
Healer
Hold
Girl,
on, it's important.
and
What's
you
her name?
decide to
What does that name
Lucia.
have significance in the Lunar series?
No.
Yes,
Mhm.
Lucia's important in the first
And
game.
this is a
She's
character that is completely unrelated to that one. Yep.
unrelated at all. Yeah.
Don't think too hard about it.
And then you jump into the Thieves' Forest, and this is when everything falls the fuck apart.
When you think about traditional JRPG mechanics, and you see the ways in especially in the mid-aughts that developers were trying to play around with them and make, try not to just make Dragon Quest over and over again. And then you see this game and the ways that this game is trying to mix up its formula and adjust things, and it makes me go, I don't know why they did this. It makes me yearn for the heterodox game development sensibilities of Akitoshi Kawazu and the Saga series. Because
Let's get into what weirdness they did, because
Yeah.
you got to understand what the fact that you called them they mixed it up. They really mixed it up. They should have done a little bit less. What's your favorite part?
I
Is it
like the part where you get to choose.
Favorite, is that in
Yes.
air quotes? I could feel the air quotes, even though this is an audio-based podcast. So look, it's a turn-based system where you input commands, and there's only 3 commands, which is attack, magic, and item. And one of those commands is completely irrelevant for one of your characters, i.e. Gian Protag-kun, because he doesn't have any spells, even though he has MP right below his health meter. So it's just like a pool of points that will
Half the
not get
game.
used for at least 20 hours.
2/3 of the game. He doesn't get
No,
spells
over
until
half
the
the
last third of the
game.
game.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good part.
And yeah, and then I clicked attack, and I thought, oh hey, yeah, I get to like do some tactical strategy here where I figure out which little bee or slime
No,
they attack. Nope,
no, absolutely
that's
not.
not how that works.
Why would you think such a thing?
Everything is RNG, and that's
Is it a
I'm not
problem or is it a
sure
solution?
it makes you have to think about combat less, which
Yep.
why would you want to think about this combat?
was apparently their objective. Looking at the interviews of the people who made this game, like whether I'm not presenting this as saying like they made the right conclusion, but this is like their thought process is they assumed that the Nintendo DS audience was younger than say the PlayStation or the Mega Drive CD, which is where the first, batch of Lunar 1 were released on. Technically true. I would say that at launch, the people who owned a DS were maybe younger than people who owned consoles. They thought that the solution to that problem was to have combat largely automated and you just pick the type of attack or type of move or type of action, and then the AI will figure everything out for you. So they tried to solve a problem that didn't really exist.
We're already on
because Pokemon.
the good choices brigade here. And this is, to be clear, the first infraction of many. So the thing that
So I guess we should say it like how does
So,
combat actually work? We
you
should
get into
take
combat,
maybe a step
and
back.
the enemies appear very slowly on the other side of the screen. Some of the enemies will be on the top screen.
Oh god.
You cannot hit those enemies because they are not on the ground. They are perhaps flying. And so, in order to hit those enemies, you are going to have to kill the enemies underneath them on the ground. Um, you get a choice once you enter the combat if you want to do it completely automatic or if you want to make choices. If you decide to do automatic, all of your characters will just do attacks. If you choose to do it manual, you get a choice if you want to cast magic or whatever. Use items is the only other choice, or do attacks. Um, if you say wanted to heal, you would have to get out of automatic combat and uh, have Lucia, who is your healer at the beginning of the game, cast some healing magic, and then you're just gonna have to go back into automatic if you want to do that. But easier to just wait until combat is over and then do healing outside of combat. Thank God they had that option. Just as an aside, they could have forgotten about that entirely. Anyway, in combat, the enemies will very slowly cross the screen to attack you. Sometimes it is a single jump. Sometimes you're fighting a slime and it hops towards you very slowly, like 4 times, and then it
God.
hops slowly back as soon as it attacks you. And that takes like 10 seconds. And it sure
And
adds
it adds up because you fight the same
Yep. You
slimes
were going to
a
be
whole
fighting
bunch.
basically the same enemies, but just recolored. There's like maybe 30 enemies, I would say. Um, and they're all doing the same thing.
Now,
Yes.
now,
hmm
now, this leads to like
hmm
the advice that I got from UM is if you're outside of a boss or you haven't reached the end of the game where you have good AoE abilities, any combat that you get
Absolutely.
into, just hit auto. Just hit auto.
Yeah.
Just hit auto. It's not worth it. Like
it's
fiddling
not
through
worth
the
it.
menus, it's not worth it. as much of a health deficit as you end up in, it's not worth it. Just hit auto. So I would say until you get to the last 2 dungeons where you actually finally have spells that can get rid of trash mobs pretty easily, and there's a problem with that we'll talk about later. It's the most mindless combat because you're not doing anything. You're having very little buy-in other than putting stuff on these characters and then hoping that they do the actions that you do, which they very rarely do not, because magic casters, the few that you have, never use magic. They just use their useless
Before
fucking
we
melee attacks.
get off of it, those magic casters do not have offensive magic. Lucia does not have a
There's no real mage in this game, which is bizarre because the Lunar games kind of pride themselves on mages being a tentpole part of your parties. So yeah, there's no magic. It's just an endless stream of DPS characters, and you're stuck with this 2-party comp where it's Jian and Healer Girl, and Healer Girl does dog shit damage. So you really only have
she
one character
eventually
that does
gets
damage.
there, and then
that's a
is
problem.
not
And
in your
then
party
gets
anymore.
replaced. Yeah.
Yes.
But wait, there's more.
Oh wait, there's more. What happens at
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of combat? Oh wait, there's 2 things that can happen, and
This
you
is
have
my
to pick
favorite
what
part of the game.
happens prior to
Okay,
the battle.
so you know how in most JRPGs you will finish combat and it will give you experience and it will give you items. Not in this case. In this game, you will get either experience or items. And this is determined by the mode that you are in when you enter the combat. And that's certainly something that you could put in your game. I don't know why you needed to. Very strange. And
On top of that, neither mode gives you money at the end of combat. So just keep that in mind. That's going to lead to a different thing, but
Yes.
yeah, M's right. You have to choose if you want items
And
or
there's a whole
experience
baffling
points.
subsystem. You're not emphasizing how weird it is.
Yes.
So when you are in a dungeon, if you press, I believe it's the R button or the L button, you can switch between Valor mode
there's a
and
button for that?
Virtue mode. Yes.
I didn't
Or
know.
you can tap it on the bottom screen.
I just tapped it.
They're in Valor mode, which is the mode that gives you XP. You want to defeat every single enemy on one screen in order to you get a small heal refresh, and you also can open a blue chest on that screen if there is one. And the blue chest usually contains pretty good items, like usually a tier or 2 above what you currently have. But in Virtue mode, enemies will respawn and drop items that you need to either turn in for quests to give you money or sell to get you money, since no one actually drops money after battle.
Let's not forget the other element of Virtue mode. Virtue mode has a like a little checklist on your bottom screen. And
God, the timer.
If you can check all those boxes, that's when you can open the blue chest and you get your little heal. If you say you're standing around, you're like, you put the DS down for a second, there is a stopwatch on the bottom screen that will gradually refill one of those enemies. So they will respawn, and then you will have to kill that enemy again. It does take a little while. I don't think I ever had a problem with it. But
I had a problem with it with the larger environments, especially in the later of the game, where it's easy. Like, for example, that later non-thieves forest, where you had to go to the tower. Sometimes the enemies just fuck off into like corners of the forest where it's
Mhm.
like, God damn it, where are you?
Yep.
Now there is a card, which Jesus goddamn Christ, there's collectible cards, but we're not there yet.
We're gonna get there
dear listener.
eventually. We gotta get through all this shit first.
There are just times where it's like, I know I need one more. I
Mhm.
know, where the fuck is it? And then
Yep.
it would replenish before I could
And
find
then you have to
them.
deal with 2 enemies instead of just that one.
And then there's the smaller environments where those are frustrating because the game's only able to like surface like 3 enemies per screen, so you have to leave and then come back
Oh,
and
yeah.
then respawn the enemies
That
to
was
clear out the room.
that was a special treat. Because I was like, I need to kill like 6 enemies in this room, and there are only 3. Do I just stand here? No, you just have to leave and come back. And I don't
It's a
know if
really
they did that
smart, well-designed
intentionally.
system.
Yeah. All
So you're like, oh well, but you can get money by selling things. Well, yes, you can sell the items that you get from
Yeah.
random encounters,
You
but you
want to
get
get
dog shit
fucking nothing.
money out of it. The real way you want to get it, the real way you get money, right, Em, is by doing
Delivery
delivery.
system. John is a delivery boy,
Yep.
and
Delivery boy. What if every side quest
Yep.
was a
you
fetch
are
quest?
you are doing deliveries for what's this? Gone Gad? Yeah,
Gad's
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 Express.
Express.
Gad.
Yeah. And it could be deliver something that you already have to someone in town, or it could be go all the way across the like
The
forest
map.
and deliver it
Yep.
to the next town over. Um, and the actual items that you have to deliver, sometimes they're straightforward, but it seems like it scales depending on where in the game you are. So eventually you will have to find like the
Yep.
weirdest stuff. And I'll be real, I was basically going through entirely in earning XP mode, uh, except if I needed a card in a certain area, which was rare after the halfway point in the game. Um,
Yeah, I was. I eventually entered the same point to where it's like, well, I'd rather just like be miserable and clear out these
mhm,
rooms and open these blue chests and get the items for free rather than have
yeah,
to do the Gad's
and
Express deliveries. But this is the other. This is your only
yep,
option if you don't want to do that, and it sucks because you could go into a Gad's Express, and all of the missions that you talk when you talk to the merchant are randomly generated. And the recipients of these rewards are randomly generated. So it might be where you talk to a dude, and all of the locations where you need to do the deliveries are inconveniently far away, and you're not going to be able to make any money. So you have to exit out and then talk to him again and hope that you can get a mission. And there's not a lot of middle ground. Either missions have like 20 plus items that you need across all 5 disparate
Mhm.
parts that you need to assemble, or it's just 2 or 3 things. And the ones that obviously have fewer things give you like piddly like 500 gold, and the ones that have the bigger missions give you like enough to buy the cool sword that you've been looking at for the last hour. So there's no like middle ground. It doesn't really scale well because you're either making shit money
yep.
or you're making a ton.
Very rarely when you're going through the overworld, sometimes there will be chests that have money in it. This is like towards the back half of the game. Sometimes you'll open a chest and it'll be like 10,000 gold. And I'm like, all right, sweet. I don't have to do any delivery quests now. Uh, and basically, after a certain point, you don't have to worry about that if you're opening the blue chests. Like, I maybe did, I don't know, less than 20 that I actually had to do for like gearing up my uh crew. So I don't know. It's just it's one of those weird things. This game has a lot of weird things to it. We didn't even get to the weirdest one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, what's the weirdest one? What
the
does
fact
M consider the
that when
weirdest
you are
one?
running around, you take damage. You
Oh
take
fuck, right.
HP damage in when you are running.
So I think that of the things that come up a lot in terms of the people who talk about this game, it's there's three big
Mhm.
things that always come up. It's bad, always comes up. And for whatever reason, this is the other one. You have to blow
Yeah.
into the microphone to run away. If you played this on the original DS, in order to run away, you had to either shout or, more commonly, blow into the microphone on the DS to run away. It's not a button press. And then the other one is that you take damage over time from running. And then it would be like the whole you don't get XP and items, you have to switch. The microphone thing's not actually that big of a deal. It's just a weird thing. People were trying to find different parts of the DS to use to prove to Nintendo that they actually cared about the things that they were
Yeah,
wanting
it's
to
very
like
much an
use.
early DS thing to have like a little bit of microphone
Yeah.
involved.
The running away thing is a real problem at the start when you have characters that have like 20 to 50 HP. But once you get your characters to like level 6 to 10, it's completely irrelevant and you just eat that damage because holy shit, the walking speed is so
It's
goddamn slow.
intentionally
And then by the end of the
lethargic.
game, it's just completely irrelevant. Yeah, the walking speed is painful. And you just get to the point to where outside of the dungeons where there are no Althena statues that you can heal, you just memorize where the statues are and you realize, oh, wait, I'm close enough to where I'm just going to run. I'm just going to run, re-heal, then run back.
They are a little generous in that you cannot run yourself to death. If you reach like, I think it's like 20% of your maximum health, you will not be able to run anymore, which is both. I mean, I guess they could have just let you like let you die from running, but that's a little. People would have loved that, I think. Um, but then you couldn't run, so it's like, you know, it's just a something that no one has done before or since, as far
It
as I'm aware. Yeah.
it's
For a
it's one of those
reason.
things where I just have to assume someone somewhere in the development process wanted to make a much weirder game. They said, "I want to make a saga." And then someone else said, "No, absolutely not. We're making a game for children." It is baffling. It is inexplicable. With aforementioned saga games, I don't understand them. I don't understand Unlimited Saga. But I believe Akitoshi Kawazu understands Unlimited Saga. And I believe that the people who wrote that 1000 kilobyte guide on game facts understand Unlimited Saga. There's no understanding why the choices were made here, other than someone wanted to try something. It doesn't make the game better or more
They wanted to do
interesting.
something that broke the norm. Yeah. Yeah, so you take damage from just running. Okay, now let's talk about cards. So certain enemies, I don't know if it's every enemy. Is it every enemy or is it
It's
just a limited number of enemies? I'm pretty sure it's not
every
every enemy has a
enemy.
card. I could be
Some of
wrong.
them,
Every enemy has a card.
like
Fine.
after the first like 2 or 3 dungeons, you're getting like recolors, and those are basically counted as the same family. So if you are in a later stage area, you can get
Whatever.
like the early stuff from the enemies that are still around you. But it seems as though every enemy has a card. The bosses do not have cards, and the cards that they do have are not able to be used in the actual game. Uh, yeah.
Oh, but they
Oh
were
yeah,
usable in
Your
the
all of your
multiplayer.
multiplayer.
all of your multiplayer action that you're having with your friends who also bought this game. None of us could experience the multiplayer.
Yeah,
Okay.
none of
As
us
far
could
as I'm aware.
experience the magic of Lunar Dragon Song's multiplayer together.
Now, the nice thing about these cards is that there are a handful of cards
Mhm.
that give really useful abilities like restore the MP of all of your characters all the way. And there's like 5 cards that are really useful, and then the rest of them are dog shit. And you
What? One of
never
them lets
use
you
them.
run away,
Some of them, I
guaranteed.
would even say that
Isn't
they're
that really
words.
good?
Yeah.
I mean, considering
Whatever.
I would have had to blow into my 3DS, which I don't even know where the microphone is, I would just pop that card and just leave.
But you can't have more than 1 card, even though you'll fight the enemy that drops that cards dozens of times. So there were times, for example, like the restore all of the MP on your character's card. There was a dungeon coming up, and I only had 3 uses, and I realized I wanted more. So I guess I'm just gonna burn it 3 times and then go back to where that enemy is, so is that I can get that card again. And then I have to pray to the RNG goddess and hope that the card drops, because it's not automatic. It's beholden to the same RNG of the items that you're trying to get for those Gads Express missions. Like, so much of this game is RNG. And that's the part where I think, especially for those that played the earlier Lunar games and either wanted the turn-based combat system of the early games or the tactical combat-based systems or the automated combat systems, it's complicated because every single release of Lunar has a
They're all
completely different
different in some
story
way.
and gameplay system. But regardless of what flavor of ice cream or flavor of Lunar 1 you played a better game than us. Because most of the combat is so simplistic that there's little thought to it. And I found an interview by one of the game's, like the president of Japan Art Media, and they were obsessed with, if we make the combat simple, it will be faster. The combat will be faster, and this will be streamlined, and children will enjoy it more. And there's no doubt that they streamline things, but because everything's so automated and everything is so RNG focused, it actually is slower than if I could just select my attacks and the recipient for the damage of those attacks. Because the AI is inefficient. The AI is so inefficient. They don't know how to eliminate targets. They'll spread everything out. Which leads us to the other annoying thing. You spend, I would say, the first 2 chapters with 2 characters. One of those characters does 0 damage because she's the healer until you finally get the umbrella that allows her to do consistent critting. Then there's the period of time where she gets kidnapped, and then Gian can't do his triple attack, so he attacks once. And you get a furry girl and then eventually a bow girl. And that party sucks because you have 2 people who are just kind of sort of getting there. And Flora's a healer, so that's at least okay. And then there's a party comp where they give you Gian after getting his 3-hit combo attack, and then Rufus, and you got no healing.
Why
no
would you
heal
need
spells.
It's
For an
fine.
entire boss sequence, let alone. It's fine, but it's more the concept of, well, I guess I'm just gonna do stuff a different way. Luckily, the healing items are almost as effective as your healing spells, and they're super cheap. But it just feels weird.
It
This
sure
game feels
does.
weird.
Mm.
And man, it feels cheap. Like, the biggest problem that I have is actually the mid game. Like, the beginning of the game is so bog standard that you can just sleep through it, and then the end of the game is a
What
joke.
do you consider the mid game? What?
But the mid game is when you first get Floor. Well, you first get 3 characters, and Gian still has his fucking problem where he only attacks once up until after Rufus dies. So I would say that this is the mid part where the game starts presenting trash mobs. And you have one character with an AoE ability, and that is Gabriel's Fire Dance ability. And her MP growth is so little or so slow, and her pool during this mid game is so low that you basically only can cast this ability like 3 or 4 times. And so you're forced to one at a time rely on Gian picking away and eliminating every single enemy in this
It's
trash
worth
mob
mentioning.
one at a time.
There are sometimes like 8 enemies on the other side of the screen.
Yep.
And 4 of those you can't hit because they're up in the air. So you have to very gradually work your way through them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's, mhm.
And it's slow. It's so slow. And then sometimes those enemies will inflict status
Mhm.
effects like sleep or paralysis. And then you're just gonna lose a turn and you're gonna have to
Boy,
deal with
golly. I don't really have anything to add.
it.
I
It's
think the combat in this game is minimal. It is just like it is the game when people in the mid 2000s, when people were slagging on JRPGs a lot, uh you know, JRPGs had fallen out of favor around the mid aughts. Uh During that period, this game feels like the game that people said JRPGs were. It's just like the most bare bones, basic ass turn based combat with no real interesting player input.
Yeah.
It's and the way I solved it, quote unquote solved, is I just turned it on to off
Mhm.
90% of the time.
Oh, apparently there's a button you can press to speed up combat, actually.
What?
Yeah, and I never knew about it. I played the entire game. Apparently, you can tap the R button, I think,
Okay.
and
I mean,
it will make the combat go faster.
I
Oh no, it
tapped the
doesn't.
L button, which is what I had used to map, uh, which is what I had used to map the turbo function on my real DS.
Hmm. Yep.
it again, I stand by everything we've said up to this point in that it doesn't solve the functional issues of these parties of 3 suck because the game gives you goddamn so many trash mobs where the enemies can be
It
up
feels
to 8. Why
perfunctory.
can't I have at least 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Like,
It
it's
doesn't feel
just
like there is any method to the combat.
yeah, it's basically just use your AOE's.
yeah.
Once John will get a AOE later on, like way later on. And then it's just he does it, Gabby does it, Flora fires a single arrow. Uh, there's like, it's
Yeah.
just very strange. It's balanced so weird. Like you would think that if you had a character that was basically just fire a arrow, you would also give her something else that makes her like worthwhile in combat as opposed to only having healing item or healing spells. But that is not the case here.
No.
Uh,
Well, even the Lunar games give at least like offensive magic, like holy magic. Even Final Fantasy, like normally, even the healer gets at least one spell, whether it be
Holy.
wind
mhm.
or light or something. Nope.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yep.
annoying.
And this was
by
solved.
a lot.
This was solved years
And
before
so-
this game even came out. Final Fantasy. What's the most current Final Fantasy?
12
was
would have
released?
been around the same time as this.
Yeah. And they were doing healing magic in Final Fantasies, and white magic could attack sometimes. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like this was a new thing or something that needed to be innovated. They just didn't do it.
Oh, we forgot to say this. If your solution to every time you're presented with some sort of like difficulty in a JRPG is to
Oh.
power grind,
Enemies
you
scale
can't
with
power
you.
grind in this game because enemies
sure do.
scale with
Inexplicably.
you.
Yeah.
So you're just stuck if you end up in a bad way, because what ends up happening is that it really becomes an equipment-based RPG where the solution is get better equipment. So if you didn't open up those blue chests, guess
Or
what?
if you didn't,
You
you
gotta
gotta grind items.
away to get items to do it that
It's
way.
all based on the items that you can get or buy. And if you're just doing delivery quests, I don't know how long this game is going to take you. Because you're just running back and forth for no real reason.
And also, this game is not big enough.
No.
To justify.
And there's just like, it does certain things that feel dated at the time. So eventually there is you getting an airship, but it's not
Literally
until the
the
penultimate
last
dungeon
possible
that
thing
you
you
get the
can
airship.
do.
Yeah, it's one of the last possible things you can do. So that's not where you should have put that. And I was trying to think of something. Oh, you do get new characters, and outside of one, they
Yeah.
all start at level 1, which was something that JRPG
Final
stopped
Fantasy
doing
2
literally during the SNES era.
Was the I guess Cecil comes back as a level 1 paladin when that happens.
Yeah, but we're talking
Yeah.
about like SNES era stuff.
I am
Brayden.
aware.
Here's the
It's
thing. I don't mind it so much because if you can keep the character alive, they will get like 5 to 10 levels pretty much immediately. But
Sure. It's
yes.
a preponderance of evidence, though, M. It's like a part of this stack of fucking evidence that we're piling up as to why this
taking
game
that
is bad.
in consideration with the fact that if that character takes like 2 hits, they're going to die. And if they die in the combat, they're not going to get XP. And also, you're not going to be able to run because there'll be 1 health after that. So, yeah, it's bad. It's not very good.
I don't care for it.
No.
So, yeah, it's if not for the weird things this game does, I think it would have been consigned to the shovelware bin a long time ago. Like, no one would have remembered this game if it wasn't the first JRPG on the DS and also tied to a series that people like.
Yeah. If this was a DSi like download only game, you would not know about it at all. Because there are a million of these on there. Like,
Yes, if this was a beloved game by your friends and mine at Chemco, makers
Chemco.
of the worst RPGs you've never heard of, Chemco.
And maybe the worst
Oh, that's
Batman
right. They
game
did
ever.
make Dark Tomorrow. That.
Yeah.
Just be glad we're not playing any of those, because those games have literally nothing to offer. Literally nothing.
What does this game offer?
This game offers endless sadness for fans of the Lunar series,
Mm-hmm.
which
This
is
is a
important, I find.
yeah. This is spitting on the fans of the series. Um, some some things more than others, especially when you get to the ending bit.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. There's really nothing in this story
Uh,
worth remarking
can we
upon.
remark on it though?
This is not a great story. It's not uh until it finally gives a shit about trying to convey a story, which is the last
Mhm.
10 to 15 minutes.
Also worth mentioning, the translation uh, is it's
Oh,
very
it's so
weird in
bad.
the beginning, and then towards the end, it actually starts to come together a little bit. Uh, I don't know how they managed that. There were like spelling errors in the first
Uh
couple of hours.
So there's not just spelling errors.
Yeah,
They get the names of the characters wrong in different spots. So when you're trying to complete a mission, the Gads Express guy will use a different name
Or
than the
they will
name of
amazing.
that
misspell Gion's
character
name.
Yeah, yep. Uh, I don't know if I
with
don't
a
know if you
G.
noticed
I
this.
noticed that.
There is a status screen where you can look at your character's like inventory and equipment. Uh, Gabri- Gabrielle's name is spelled wrong in it.
That
Uh,
sounds about right.
I originally thought it was just like the characters not knowing how to pronounce Gabrielle's name, and then I realized that it
y-
was just like, oh,
yeah,
this is bad
Gabrielle's name is spelled with a
localization.
Y, but in that menu, it's spelled like the biblical, like
Yeah.
you know, yeah, that the way you would usually spell it. Which I was like, come on, guys, come on.
This
Yeah,
doesn't this should not happen.
how is this
This is
even
not allowed to
possible?
happen
Uh-huh.
as late as this came out.
You were also mad about this on stream. You cannot change your inventory from that menu. You have to go into your like
Yeah,
items and then equip it from there. Yep.
stack of items.
Which is also something.
It's just like why deviate from the
Mhm.
norm unnecessarily? Why? You didn't need to. It's completely
Yeah,
not
they are.
needed. You don't need to
It
do
seems
that.
as though they were making this game from first principles, like from the ground up, having never played a game before. uh,
It
which
has
is
that
impressive.
energy.
Yeah. Uh, and making games is hard. I I can empathize that making a game in any form is difficult. But this is attached to the Lunar name, which uh,
Had resonance back then.
yeah, it it had
I
a
should
lot of presence and it was much beloved. Just impressive.
I showed you that Sega CD intro sequence with the
That
song, and it was metal
uh
as shit.
that like what? It's like 2 minutes of animation was better than this entire game.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Um all right. Well,
All right. Do
do
we?
we
Yeah. Tell me about
Well,
the
let's talk
ending,
about this
because
ending then, because that's
that's
really
this
oh
when I
is
saw
boy.
this.
where I, yeah, I will say before we get to the ending, once you get through the first like 3 hours, and then there's another big downturn in the story where Gian no longer has his triple hit attack. He just hits once. Then you get a bit of an long section where you are trying to get fucking your your acrobatics back. Once you get past that, the game kind of opens up just a little bit more and kind of feels okay. This is deceptive. Uh, When you
Yep.
get to the part of the game where you are taking the dragon trials, you will start getting spells for John. And at that point, he will have an AoE attack. And that feels great. This is also deceptive. Uh at the point when I finally got my first like AoE multi-hit thing on John, I was like, "Oh, maybe this game has something to it." Um it doesn't. It just will throw like larger piles of enemies at you, and you won't you won't get through that fight unless you use those AoE attacks. So it's just a lot of busy work. Um, and then we get to the ending. Uh, it's worth mentioning. John's childhood friend gets kidnapped at some point. Who you might recall is also the healer. Uh, we get a replacement healer in Flora, who is also the bow girl. Um, at one point, it seems like we're going to get an extra sword person when Rufus joins up. He gets killed in the dungeon that you meet him.
Yeah, why
Yeah, he
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 just gets
gets
hated.
completely eaten. Only his arm is left. And you would think, like, I've played a game before. He's gonna come back. He's just not gonna have an arm. He does not come back. He is
No,
gone. He's dead. And
he's
also,
dead.
any equipment you gave him goes with him. So don't give him anything important.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have a very small window in which you can get like upgrades for his equipment. It is not worth doing.
Even that blue
Yep.
chest that has something for him, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
Well, it kind of is if you want to sell it, but
just open it
also
up and sell it,
skip it.
but also it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Don't
definitely don't
equip it
give it to
onto
him.
him.
Um, yeah. So the whole game you're going after the dragon. What's
Dragon
his
Man.
title?
Ignatius.
Dragon Man. Dragon Master.
Ignatius,
Yeah.
Dragon
I
Master.
was like, it can't be Dragon Master. That's a silly title. It
Yeah.
is. That's what it is.
Like the story itself is a copy pasted version of the story from Lunar 1. Like Ignatius, in a lot of ways, is like a copy pasted version of Galleon from Lunar 1. Person somehow gets corrupted, blah, blah, blah. But it's like only like the abbreviated version of Lunar 1 because Lunar 1 has
Yeah, there's a
characters with
group
like an
dynamic
arc.
in that game.
These are like
If
facsimiles. Like the characters like each other. But no. So we're building up Ignatius as the big bad, and there's some problems with that because we see him like 3 times, one of which
Mhm.
is the ending of the game.
uh,
Like the other scene is his introduction, and then the second scene that we see him is him myrtleizing you.
we do talk about him quite a bit.
So they've established him as being this big cool dude, right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna
You
fight
do the
him.
thing at the halfway point of the game, like right after Lucia gets kidnapped, where you have a unwinnable battle with him, where he just like casts one spell and does 1,000 damage to you. Um, and you're like, oh, this guy is a dick, and we're going to absolutely kill him before the end of the game. So everything is building up to this climactic battle with him. You go to the frontier, which is where his like castle is. You fight your way up. You have to do a whole bunch of nonsense with the valor mechanic in order to open a gate that is busy work. You fight his minion 3 times, who gets progressively more messed up, uh, has a absolutely horrible sprite.
It just gets
Yep.
worse
Yep.
as you fight different versions of him. His last version is maybe one of the worst
It's
looking sprites in the
extremely
entire
ugly.
game. Some of the sprite work in this game is fine. And then there's just like butt ass looking sprites
I would even
every now and again.
I would even some of the people who have responded to this game have pointed out that your sprites in combat are not even scaled correctly, and they kind of have like a weird like digitized looking, like it's not correct. Something is wrong
Yeah,
with their
it
sprites in
one
combat.
might suspect that this game was originally made for GBA,
Hmm.
and then perhaps was scaled up for the DS
Hmm.
without being rescaled for the correct aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's very strange. Anyway, we were talking about the ending. So we fight that boss who has way too much health, and then we go up the tower, and you're like, okay, it's time to fight Ignatius. We've built up all this bullshit, and what happens?
Ignatius, well, a couple of things. Ignatius
Mhm.
blasts your girlfriend, who is Lucia, who has now been revealed to be Althena. So, all pretense there, that does not make any sense in comparison to the previous Lunar
Did we
games.
even mention who Althena is?
The goddess of, like, basically
Yeah,
this universe's version of Mother Earth, the god of, the
and the one
positive
from
god of
all the other
creation.
Lunar games.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So, your girlfriend is a goddess. Not no pretense, no like subtext. She's just a goddess, and she walks in front of a blast of fire and gets killed. She's very much dead. The game makes a huge case that she is dead. She even says, "I have to go away now, probably forever." I'm overemphasizing this for a reason that we'll revisit
Hmm.
later, as M knows. And then you walk up to, like, her last dying word is, please find a way to not use violence. Basically saying violence begets violence. There's a rumble, an earthquake. And then we see poor old Ignatius, who has just finished killing a goddess and your girlfriend, murdering her with no, apologies for what he has done. And he is dangling by the corner of a platform, about to fall to his death, and you are attempting to save him. And then your hand slips, and he falls to his death. So this big bad evil dude that the game has been building up across a continuum of 20 to 25 hours,
Now,
you don't even fight him. He
hmm
dies basically
and I
off
would like to
camera.
stress, there are like 4 different points
Multiple
where
times where,
that fight
yeah,
could have happened.
there's
Um, Pretty much like it feels like you just sort of like blinked and missed the whole fight. Because there is one point in particular where it's like definitely it would have been right here in any other game. And then they just keep talking. That cutscene just keeps going.
and they keep
Hmm.
going with the talking. And it's like, okay, so you're going to fight now,
And
right?
then
And so the last time you had combat, the last boss fight is the third battle against a rando monster thing, which the game says that this monster is a part of the Vile Tribe. The Vile Tribe are people. They're not monsters that are corrupted by black magic. That pissed me the fuck off because they're people. In Lunar 1, the Vile Tribe are people with like tattoos all over their faces and stuff, kind of like, in Genshin Impact, the people who have like the red paint all over their face. They're like that. they're like maybe a little animalistic and like animal designs, but they're not any different than say the Beast People. Whereas in this game, they're just monsters.
I don't even know what the
Just
deal was with
monsters.
that, because
And
we
so
hear a lot about the Vile Tribe, and then do we ever even see any other ones?
No.
nope. We just see monsters that come from the forest that the game says this is the Vile Tribe. They're corrupted
Mhm.
animals from the forest. And so yeah, like so this doesn't work for two things. First off, Ignatius is a character we have seen 3 times. Like I've said, that is not an exaggeration. Intro, him murdering your party, this scene here at the end. And every single time he has been a piece of shit that has killed people, committed war crimes, or some sort of evil shit. And now you feel bad that he died. And like the premise of like, oh no, I failed as the hero because someone died. Oh no. Oh dear God, no. And then the game has the audacity, the audacity of saying, oh God, the temple's collapsing. You got to control it again.
This
And you have to
this
walk out of
was
the temple
so
is the weirdest thing.
just no reason for this. You have to very slowly walk out of the temple, and then as soon as you exit the temple, a like incredibly
The next cutscene.
jarring jump to sometime in the future. We don't know how long, because the game is uninterested in answering that. We jump to outside of the first town, and who do we see? Is it our friend John? Is it
No.
any of the characters we've been with the entire game? No. Nope.
No.
Uh,
It's 2 random characters talking about how different life is and worrying about like Althena being gone forever. These are characters that we later found out based off of some research were introduced in earlier scenes.
Yeah.
this
Once.
was Titus and
Once.
Perez. Uh, Titus was a priest that you have to talk to for some reason. He's like living in the Beast
Mhm.
City, and uh, the the other guy I do not remember. Um, yeah, but
He
and
can
for
turn
some
into a
reason he
fairy though.
turns into a little bee-looking fairy, and he flies up, and you I don't know. They say something about how Lucia is reborn as a Althena reborn as a human. Why did she do that? Uh, and then the
And then the
cutscene
cutscene
happens.
happens. And then you see Gian being embraced by Lucia, who's walking up to him and then leaps to him and he grabs her. And then it cuts to black and it says the end
Oh no,
after
wait!
playing the credits. How is Lucia
It doesn't
alive?
matter.
It doesn't. Who gives a shit?
You're 12. Your parents bought this for you, you dumbo.
This game. Mhm. This game is uninterested in answering these questions. For those Lunar fans who played this game to the end, there's a little something there for you. It pans up to the blue star looking on,
Yeah.
and it
Star.
says, "Our story has just
Yep.
begun. Carried by the wind on wings of hope, time moves towards the future. For now, all is peaceful, but one day the time for valor shall return again. A day when an adventurer will become Dragon Master." The end. Which, can you explain why that's significant?
Yeah, it basically leads into the fact that Lucia in Lunar 1 is the reincarnation of Althena, but the timing doesn't really work. So is this Lucia gonna die and then
Reincarnated.
she gets reborn again? Because she's a completely different character. The game doesn't care because, as you found out, this is basically fan fiction. That the people who made this game didn't know how to write a Lunar game, so they asked fans to help them.
We can get into that. You want to do that now? You want to rag on it some more?
Sure. I just want to say that this ending is not the most morally repugnant ending. I've said this on the Discord. This is not even the worst ending that I've ever seen, but this might be the most insulting ending I've ever seen in a video game because it's denigrating, it's condescending, and it's just like so flippant that it is offensive.
It's nonsensical.
To that point.
Yeah.
It's a farce. Like, these characters are not characters. Protag Kun has been Protag Kun, and I don't even say that as like an exaggeration.
Have a personality.
He's not a character. Gion's not a character.
Mm-hmm.
He's there. That's the nicest thing you can say about him. He's always there. And they figured out that, hey, wait, yeah, this is a JRPG. It needs to have a story. And they waited until the last 15 minutes to shotgun a bunch of shit.
To remind you that this is connected to the other games in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Connected. Sneer quotes.
It's like, you might as well have just like said that this is set in its own universe or something like that, because that would be less offensive than this horseshit that you did to try and like connect it all with this like universe. This.
Please look forward to our inevitable
franchise.
Playthrough of Lunar Silver Star Story complete.
I would love.
We would
to
have
be
a better
on
time than
when you
this.
do it,
Lunar 1 is a beloved game, and they just did that re-release that people seem into. Even if it, doesn't have that delightful 90s cheese, because they relocalized it for humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for a different time, though, but...
Alright, so I do have some behind the scenes stuff here. I found on the Let's Play archive a Lunar Dragon Song playthrough, lovingly titled "Fuck Lunar Dragon Song," by Camel Pimp.
Thank you, Camel Pimp.
Thank you, Camel Pimp.
Great name. No notes.
Someone who was on the forums at the time when this was being posted, a person named Jenner, had involvement with a fan group that consulted on this game. I'm just going to read the first paragraph where they start talking about it. These were like pulled out, and this is from 2014, so it's not quite when the game came out. All right, so this is what Jenner says. When asked, "Did you work on this game with Ubisoft or something?" Jenner replies, "When production of this game first began, Ubisoft originally approached prominent members of the Lunar fandom to advise them in the game. Those approached did some consultation on the game, having their names in the credits, and got access to quite a bit of development materials and conceptual stuff during the process, many of which they were able to keep. Unfortunately, my informant is still bound by an NDA, so I can't elaborate further nor provide scans, so you have to take my word for it. Suffice to say, I've had the opportunity to look over all these documents, and I'm not listed in the credits." So, basically, Ubisoft, when they were working on development on this game, got in touch with LunarNet, which is the official site for Lunar Dragon Song, and all the other Lunar games, I guess. And they sent not even game elements because, as Jenner says later on, I want to impress on you that the fan consultants never played any part of the game. They did no playtesting. When I had their ear, I offered to, as I have some experience playtesting and beta testing several products, but I cannot express how reluctant they seem to be to let anyone see the game in action. Perhaps it was worries about competition or stuff being leaked. I mean, it could have been any number of reasons, but I like to think they knew the game was terrible.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they were given like scripts, very rough scripts, it looks like, uh, in Japanese. They had to translate them themselves. Uh, and then they like kind of went back and forth with Ubisoft, not even a lot of times, um, because they say later on that like this was very early in development that they were even being talked to, and the uh like the input that they have either went completely undiscussed or it got completely worked into what they were working on. Like there were some, let's see. Here later on, Jenner says, I did a lot of posting and snarky talk about how there was nothing that said the Dragon Master had to be good. I'm sure those ideas reached the designers somehow. So there is a lot of fan interest in what went on in the game, and then they sent it to the designers who did this with it. And it seemed as though the fans were really into it, and the people who were actually making the game had no idea what they were doing. Because if you can't make your own lore for your game that you are basing off of a known IP, why are you making it? I don't know. I don't know.
The part where it is a three-way game of telephone
Yeah, it's very
between
strange.
Game Arts, Ubisoft, and this fan forum. I think that's
Mhm.
my favorite part.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't think any game would do this. Uh, I, I would say in the last 20 years, I can't think of another game that like directly involves not like in AAA development anyway, that directly involves all this input from quote unquote fans. Um, and I can't even tell if it suffered because of the fan input or if it was just completely fucked from the start and the fans like did their best to kind of drag it back towards Lunar.
Do you think that, yeah, that it
Yeah.
was like a weird
That's what it
salvage
seems
job?
like. It was like made on a really tight time frame for one, because they wanted it to be the first JRPG on the DS. So you have to keep that in mind. And
Yeah.
it was being made in Japan, uh, and it was actively being translated and bug fixed uh, at the like development stage, like as it was being made. So it's just so many factors in the actual development. Like I think one of you guys has the uh, interviews with the director or something. Yeah.
I've got that. So they asked them, like, how much did you have? Like, here's my favorite question is how much freedom do you
Mhm.
have in designing the characters? And then the second part to this same question, do you know a lot about a character
Mhm.
before you design him or her? And they give this question where it's like, well, it kind of all depends on our clients. Some clients draw us a rough design and tell me exactly what images they want. That's what it's normally supposed to be. You're supposed to give your contracted artist or lead people, you know, I don't
Literally
know,
anything,
references.
yeah.
When we worked on the character designs here, I needed information about each character's age, personality, circumstances, and role in the story, and world situations that support the entire story. However, most of the time with this game, I ended up determining the final character design based on my own inspiration. So what does that say? Basically, they had to fill in they had to color within the lines themselves for a lot of this. Like they didn't get enough
it's great
support,
because all those
period.
characters feel
Um,
like incredibly thin archetypes.
Yep. When you're not given any notes, you just gotta go from 0, and that's what happened. And that's why these characters, any like actual developments that they did, mostly seem to come from fan input. Like anything that is references to the greater Lunar universe, or if it's like even just a good line, like some of the some of the things that the fans like thought would just be like a neat little thing to put in, that made it like directly into the script. So
That's so funny.
yeah, so anything that was like actually, if you were surprised at any moment by anything, uh, it was probably from the fans.
Okay.
They really tried.
yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's maybe the nicest thing I can say about this game is once you squint your eyes and kind of see things the way that Lunar Dragon Song wants you to see them,
It's
you
not
can
very long and
finish
it's not
this
very
game.
hard.
It's
Yep.
you can finish this game. It's not
Yeah.
that hard. It's annoying and it wastes your time, no doubt about it, even when you play by its own rules, but you can finish it if you choose to basically unlearn everything you know about JRPGs and play things by Lunar Dragon Song's rules, which it's a shitty rule set,
Yeah.
but
Like
you
when
can
you
do it.
actually start to like do the blue chests on every map, if you know, are thinking about like I can run until I get to the Althena statue, uh, you can start to like vibe with this game, which at like a middle to late stage, I was like, maybe this game is okay. But your reward for doing so is an ending that slaps you in the face. Um, and is extremely disrespectful, especially if you are a Lunar fan. So why bother? Play a good game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't play this
listen.
game. Which
Pokemon
leads us
Diamond
to
and
ranking
Pearl
this
would come
game, right,
out like
Braden? Or do you have
6 months
final
later.
words?
Yeah, just
Oh God.
jump to that.
Listen, I know people are kind of lukewarm on Gen
Yeah.
4, but I played a shitload of Diamond.
Gen 4 was good. I don't know.
Or maybe it's people being like, "Nah, actually Platinum is so much better than Diamond and Pearl."
Well, that's true. That's
Yeah,
always true. The third one
that's
is the best
usually
one.
true. People
Mhm.
one day we'll play a Pokemon. But let's rank this motherfucker.
It'll be a mystery dungeon game. Okay, wait. Yeah.
All right, so the top
What are the
3,
top 3, the bottom
Might and
3,
Magic
Braden?
6: The Mandate of Heaven,
On
Sui
OTDE
Koden,
ranked.
and Xenosaga Episode 1 are our top 3. Our current bottom 3, Unlimited Saga at 81, Hoshiwo Mirohito at 82, and Descent to Undermountain at 83. I don't think we'll be able to top those anytime soon. But let's start low.
Okay, yeah, you know what? We'll start at the bottom. Is this
It's
better or
better.
worse
Okay.
than Descent to
I
Undermountain? It's better
here's
because it's a functioning thing. Is
Jump,
it better than
jump by
Hoshiro
like 5.
Mirahito?
here's
Yes.
where I would start to talk. Is this
Ugh.
better or worse than that 2-hour
Okay.
Garfield phone game you played?
Hmm.
Okay.
You think
It's
so?
worse.
You would rather play
'Cause that game is
Garfield's Royal Adventure
2 hours
than
long.
Lunar Dragon Song. Okay.
Yes,
I
'cause it's 2
I think this
hours.
game is like a nothing blob even when you are playing it the way it wants to be played.
Mhm.
It is bland
But it's still
and
15 to 20 hours
functional when
long.
it's trying to be, but it's baffling and stupid
Mhm.
when you have to engage with it. Okay, Secret of You're right.
Garfield
Okay.
is funny.
Better worse than Secret of the Stars. I
Oh boy,
I
yeah,
think this is better than
that's the one
Secret
to
of the
make.
Stars. I think they both have
Yeah.
a similar incompetence
I think
factor.
it's
Secret of the Stars was
worse
made by the Tecmo Bowl team.
because
Remember how Okay, go ahead.
I would say this. I think it's worse because this game screws up by uninventing everything and then trying to be new and revolutionary by uninventing the entire book. And so the book was solved. The book was written. Secret of the Stars, the book
They
was
were
still kind of sort of being written, though it was
I
eventually
mean,
getting to its final page
there were
or
our
two.
Secret of the
But
Stars. They had been making RPGs for like 6 years at that point. Whereas this game
has
has at least 2 decades
decades and
worth of
decades.
things it could take inspiration from, including multiple previous Lunar games. Okay, I'll accept that argument. Is it better or worse than Aiden Chronicles?
Now you got two games that I think are genuinely
Yeah.
a waste of your fucking time.
Both games benefit greatly from an emulator's turbo button, he said, to no one in particular.
I didn't. I don't
You
know
played it
about
on
that
real hardware, Em.
personally. Yeah,
You had a copy of this game.
I played this shit on a DS, a 3DS even. I wish I
I
had a
mean,
turbo
so did
button.
I, Wink.
Didn't we all?
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna say this. I would rather give Aiden Chronicles a shot than
Better?
this. Because Aiden Chronicles
Yeah.
at least has the novelty factor of being this weird fucked N64 game that should not have been
N64.
on the hardware it was made for. And then okay. Do you agree with that? Okay. At number 80 is
Yeah, I agree with
Hydlide,
that.
the
So
original.
I
Okay.
would play
So
Hydelite.
would you?
Would I?
Would you?
Wait, would I?
Are
Would I
you sure you
actually
want
play
to say that
Hydelite?
out loud? I've played Hydlide. I played it for like an hour and wanted to
Yeah, Hydelite's
die.
not good. I would say this goes above, like,
Yeah.
it's not worse than Unlimited
Which
Saga.
game would make you want to die more? This game or
The thing
Dude,
about this game,
Hydelite's
I just
fucking
find it
long.
so inoffensive,
Hmm.
except when it is.
You didn't play the
Hey,
amount that
I
Em and I
played like
played.
5 hours of this game with the turbo button,
Shut up.
and then
Okay.
I decided to spend my time better elsewhere because it wasn't going to get any better based on watching you. Uh, I would put this above Hydlide.
I'm still above Secret of the Stars, so
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'll go with that
Okay.
then. It's still in the top 5 though,
Okay.
or the bottom 5. The
Congratulations to our
bottom
new
5.
number 80, Lunar Dragon Song.
Woohoo!
Finally, a Kusolstice game worthy of being one of the worst things we've ever played. I mean, that's not true. We've played worse.
We've played
We will
worse,
likely
and we
play
will likely
worser.
play
You at
worser.
home can help us play worser by supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/deeplistens. paying $1 gives you access to our Discord, where you can yell at me for playing video games wrong, and you can yell at Chris for having bad toenails. $3 gives you access to the Oji-san Cast, which is a podcast where Chris and Pete and I talk about old anime for old millennials. And we just dropped our episode on Fooly Cooley, and we're gonna do Martian successor Nadesco, which
we should, I guess, real quick, we forgot to say this. It's the worst kept secret.
Yeah, it's your pick, Chris.
What is
What's
the
our
next
next
game for us? Oh wait, it's my pick. Well, we've been thinking about Eaton. And we've been thinking about we've played Ultima, we played Might and Magic, we've played technically a Final Fantasy, we've played Dragon Quest. There remains a franchise that is widely considered one of the most important franchises in the genre of role-playing video games, period, that we have technically still not played. One that sticks out there, and it's not Fallout.
We'll play
I'll say
Fallout
that
at
much.
some point.
And it's technically, I guess we haven't played. We
No,
haven't played a gold box set game, huh? I just realized that too.
Keep in mind, the only D&D game
so we've got actually a
this.
lot of stuff that's super important to this genre that we still got, but there's one that sticks out, a series, a franchise that sticks out as one. Oh wait, we've also not played
Baldur's Gate is part of D&D.
We've also not played.
Although, once again, I must needs emphasize, the only D&D game we've played for this fucking podcast is that Pool of Radiance, Ruins of Myth Draenor.
We've also not played Pool of Radiance. So we've not played a lot of important games, but now we are going to tick at least one thing off the box, because we're going to play a wizardry game.
Which one?
We're going to play Wizardry 7, Crusaders of the Dark Savant, an actual video game that takes at least 100 plus hours to complete. So I'll put this out there. No one on the podcast is probably going to finish this game.
And then, as I've kept going on, but there are a lot of things in my backlog I would also like to play. Because that they're Claire Obscure. People seem to like that.
We are probably going to play it on the main show pretty soon.
But yeah, it's time, dear listener. It's time for us to play
Wizardry 7.
Wizardry.
We got more D.W. Bradley up in that ass.
A good game. Yeah, there was a debate whether or not we wanted to do a D.W. Bradley or Robert Woodhead game, and I went with 7 just because the ambition of 7 is
ridiculous.
It's maybe one of the most ambitious games that the series ever, like, contemporaneously, like maybe the most ambitious wizardry game ever made.
It's nuts. I have already played it for like 20 hours. I'm having a good time because I'm like, it's just like Wizardry 8, except old and slow.
And it has so much
sprite
good art.
It's good. Look forward to our podcast for that at some point.
So much good art. We've tricked.
Let's see how far he gets
playing
in that
this game with us. 5 hours.
All right.
That's my guess.
Yep, that's right. We're all going to famed public school Eton in order to hit each other's faces with a switch and play good ball.
Cool.
Eton, yes. Were you an Eton lad?
No.
No. All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you, M, for coming in on this because you saw the box art and said, wait a second.
Wait a second, I played this.
Thank you, Chris, for... No thank you, Chris, for posting your fucking gross toenails. And thank you to SuperSex420 for our intro and outro music. You can find them on Bandcamp. There's no such thing as cheating in a single-player game, especially if you are holding down the turbo button, because the walk speed in Lunar Dragon Song is fucking insufferable. Bye! No,
Carried by the wheel.
no, you're a
Yes.
self-flagellating loser. I'm a winner because I chose. The only way to win is not to play.
We sure played.
You're a coward.
Again, cowardice.